After many months of asking, why is my life so dark? I finally heard something. It said, it's the dark night of the soul. Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa, and this is the beginning of something I never thought I'd share publicly. It's my path to spirit, my journey through grief, darkness, intuition, and eventually a spiritual shift. I want to start by saying this isn't a channel about religion or trends or pop spirituality. It's not about love and light or bypassing pain. It's about real life, real darkness, and the spiritual tools that help me to survive it. This series exists because during meditation I heard something very clear. Help people use spiritual tools and resources. Don't just talk about them, show them. So that's what I'm here to do. This is the first episode, calling it The Darkness That Began Long Before the Awakening. For years, my life felt like a string of bad luck. An economic crash led to jobs falling apart, moving from city to city, never finding stability. And then everything got worse one day. My mother, the one person who loved me unconditionally, called me from the hospital. Her skin was yellow, she had jaundice, and I immediately knew what that meant: pancreatic cancer. When I got to the hospital, she was frail, thin, barely able to move. She was clinging to life. And suddenly, I was working two shifts: the day shift, working from home, and the night shift, caring for her. There were moments of joy: my son visiting, taking her to the park, hearing her tease us from her lawn chair. She shared stories from her childhood, her escape from communism, her journey to Canada. Even in the horror, there was light. But then she died, and my world became dark, in a way that I didn't know was possible. After she passed, my consulting job ended. I was on the job hunt. I was in my mid 50s and hearing feedback like, oh, you're lovely, but you're just not a fit. I was grieving, financially unstable, professionally unraveling, had ongoing issues with my neighbors, inheritance issues with my sister. My rental property was destroyed by tenants. I sold it at a loss. My savings were disappearing, and still I had 10 years left until retirement. But the worst part wasn't the money, it was the darkness, the grief, the void. One day I was searching for anything that could help. I found Suzanne Giesemann's channel, Messages of Hope. I didn't believe any of it at first, but she was credible, grounded, rational. She's a former Navy commander. I kept watching her YouTube channel. I took some of her courses, and I learned to meditate. I learned about mediumship. I found other teachers. I learned about ancestral trauma, and I found healing techniques. I kept going, and slowly I shifted my perspective, my beliefs. There was still darkness, but now there was a break, a small stream of light. I've always had pretty good intuition, strong intuition, if you will. I hear voices, warnings, insights, but I ignored it most of my life. As a young adult, I had premonitions, and those premonitions would come to fruition. I sometimes heard this gruff voice, and it would share wisdom with me. Sometimes it predicted the future. It freaked me out, and I pushed this deep into the pit of my stomach. Then time passed, and I had the intuition push hard on me, in particular for job interviews. In recent years, I had two very specific job interviews that stood out, where the intuition screamed at me. My intuition kept saying, don't take this job. That guy is difficult. You'll regret it. I ignored this, and I paid for it financially, emotionally, spiritually. Things continued to go poorly. My intuition was right. I didn't listen. But I started to take note. The hair on my back stood on edge, but I take notice the intuition and the outcomes. More importantly, I took notes in the way of a diary, and I was able to look back and reflect. And then I often got goosebumps. One day during meditation, after many months of asking, why is my life so dark? I finally heard something. It said, it's the dark night of the soul. Not the trendy version, not the pop spiritual version, the real one. I heard, you must first experience the deep darkness and despair. And then I had a visual. It was a phoenix arising from ashes. Over the months of meditation, Spirit shared things like, we're teaching you to listen to your intuition. You ignore your intuition when it comes to people, and it has cost you. We're helping you complete your soul plan. You must journey through the dark night before you emerge, before you release the ego. We're teaching you to trust us. When things look bleak, you can lean in and trust that your guides will take you to where you need to go. One of the most profound things that I heard was, Spirit shapes your journey. If you stray too far from your soul's purpose, we bring you back on track. Your experiences aren't always pleasant. You won't grow if the experience is always pleasant. I concluded that basically I shouldn't fight what was coming. I'm trying to fall into a spiritual rhythm and let Spirit guide me. I continue on my spiritual journey of evolution. There are times when it can still be dark, but I do think that deep darkness that I feel recently has lifted. I see some light at the end of the tunnel. The light does flicker off and on. I've encountered a few highly unpleasant events since the months that I spent in the dark night, and it feels like a return to the darkness. But I'm pushing harder and further to find the resources, tools, and the light. I'm not sure that Spirit is promising an easier life, but it is showing me new tools, resources, and techniques to deal with each situation. Overall, this is helping to shift my perspective. I'm slowly shifting my belief system. Is this growth? I hope so. So, where am I now? I recently completed a course on energy healing, though I still have daily struggles, and I use a range of techniques to deal with the immediate aftermath. I use energy healing to help the process, to help with the pain, and to help release the pain. After a traumatic event, I need a few weeks to process and to let go. When I feel ready, I walk through the exercises and start healing the physical tension and the trauma that I hold in my body. Building your own spiritual path is about identifying your own personal pain, issues, trauma. But before you can heal, there are concepts, belief systems, resources, techniques, and tools that warrant exploration. Some call this the esoteric space, and many would call this space a little too woo-woo or crazy. I'm calling it esoteric explorations. This is a space that is starting to make sense to me, and I will share my own personal experience, the practices, and my research. I've been working on resolving my own personal pain and personal issues. I'll share the events and talk about the tools and the techniques so that you might have an example of how to manage your own personal experiences. The purpose of this channel is to help build a toolkit so that you can build your own path to spirit. My path won't be your path, but it will give you some insight about what a journey looks like. In closing, I'd like to say, if you're here because your life feels dark or chaotic or confusing, or if you're feeling grief, or even if you're awakening, or if you're searching for meaning, if you're trying to understand intuition, you're not alone. This is also my path to spirit, and I hope my story will help you find your path. If you're looking to learn more from someone else's experience through their darkness, please give my channel a like, and I'll be back to share more.